Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Talked Before. This time we're discussing the 6th season, the penultimate season of Star Trek The Next Generation. Yeah, we're getting into it, all of that. Who are we getting a drink with? Who annoyed us? All that stuff. Do we want to change what we thought of the episodes? How long will it take us to remember what these episode names were? We talk about how generic they are. 6th season wrap-up going on here. Speaking of big events, big milestones, I think is what I'm going for. Our friends at the Mothership, It's All Been Done Radio Hour. 100th monthly show, October 14th, Boxland Media. Get your tickets at boxlandmedia.com. And not only is it a show, it's a party. Of course there's a party after. There's a party afterwards. Public party. You're invited. Get your tickets. Come to the party. Come in. You know, it's almost Halloween. Come in in costume as your favorite IABD character. Hey, you know, it's a podcast. You don't know what they look like. Or maybe you do. Maybe you're a Patreon member. Patreon.com/IABD. I thought I'd sneak that in there. And now, check out what we thought of Season 6 of Star Trek The Next Generation on It's All Been Trek Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trek Before. Your regular hosts are here.
This is Steven.
And everyone.
That was Keith. I'm Jimmy Jerome. We're here to recap The Next Generation Season 6, or your first impressions of the season as a whole.
Well, my first impression was Time Zero Part 2, I think. And, no, it's, I think it sums it up.
Yeah, the bookends were not great, but I think, we've talked about we don't feel, and a lot of people don't feel it's a great season, but it's not like a season 3 TOS thing, but there's some good moments for sure. But
yeah, I would not put it as bad as season 3 TOS, but my impression is this was a major step down, whereas the first 5 seasons were all steps up on each other.
Yes, yeah.
Season 5 was its peak. And this is, I mean, we're going to decide where to rank this. I think we need to talk about individual episodes to make that determination, because off the top of my head, I don't know where it goes.
Right.
But it does not go at the top. And somebody told me that don't expect great things for season 7 either. And that disappoints me, because I feel like they so found the groove. And I don't know why they suffered, because I mean, the people that are in place at this point running the show, Jerry Taylor, Ron D. Moore, Brannon Braga, they all continue to do great things after this, like films and other spinoffs. So I don't know where the problem is. I don't know why season 6 fell so flat, but it did. It fell flat. It was disappointing in my opinion.
Yeah, flat. I think flat's a good word, because I don't think there are definitely a handful of bad episodes, but the whole season isn't bad by any means, I don't think.
If we're looking at the ranking of the season, I would say I think there are 7 bad episodes this season, which is probably the most I've said for a next gen season, but maybe in line with seasons 1 and 2 of the original series. So it's definitely better than season 3. The seasons 1 and 2 of the original series, despite having much higher highs than anything this season got to, still had a fair number of stinkers. So, I think there's 7 bad episodes, and that seems like a high number for next gen to me.
And would those be our bottom of 7 as we rank them? Or?
So where I'm putting the dividing line between good and bad is the bottom 3 that I'm considering good are Fistful of Datas, because I like that one.
Yeah.
Birthright Part 2, I didn't think it was bad. And Lessons, where Picard falls in love with the head of Stellar Science Services. I didn't think that was terrible. What the 7 bad ones, and I will say, I actually like one of the 7 bad ones. Actually, I like 2 of the 7 bad ones. I'm sorry, I picked my spot based on the one that I consider the first bad one, but the 2 below that I actually like. I like Rascals, and I like Starship Mine, which was the Picard fighting off the bad guys by himself on the abandoned ship. Man of the People, though, we have ranked above Rascals and Starship Mine, and I hated Man of the People. Then the bottom four, Time's Arrow Part 2, Suspicions, Aquiel, and Schisms were all bad episodes. Yeah. So I take it back. It's not 7, it's 5. I just like 2 of the episodes you guys put below Man of the People better than...
I don't know. It's the way that you're dubbing them bad episodes. I think
my opinion, purely subjective.
Yeah, right. I think we look for different types of things in episodes. Right? Like for Man of the People, I like psychological thrillers and things that make you go, I can't believe you just did that thing. Every time I hear you describe it, it seems like you aren't really separating your dislike of the person or the character that they're portraying from the quality of the episode itself, because it made you feel too bad in a certain way that just,
I don't think you're wrong. I can't argue that point. On the other end of things, I think there are 5 really good episodes this season, which I also think is a small number. Well, no, I shouldn't say also, because I thought it was a large number of bad episodes. I'm looking back at the earlier seasons, and I think there are more than 5 really good ones. But in this season, I only think 5 really good ones. And that's the Chain of Command 2-parter, which we have ranked as number 1 and 3 for the season. Yeah.
It feels like we've been in this season forever. Did it take us longer than usual to get through it or something?
Because we're doing DS9.
Deep Space Nine, yeah.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
So we've already done 18 episodes of DS9. So the Chain of Command we have is 1 and 3 right now. Tapestry is the one in the middle of those. Great episode. Relics and Ship in a Bottle, I would argue, are both great episodes as well. Ship in a Bottle being the Moriarty return.
Yeah.
And Relics being Scotty.
Sure.
I would say that the Ship in a Bottle probably deserves bonus points for having been like a holodeck episode in a way. When you have episodes like that where it's like, oh, it's gonna be this thing again or this guy. Well, come on, we can't do that. But they ended up finding something really interesting to do with that. I thought, especially the resolution. So,
well,
I think those 5 could stand on their own in seasons 4 or 5 with the better season, for sure.
I know. I think is Realm of Fear 6?
It is
just under there, yeah. Because I know we like that a lot.
True Q's right 7.
I was gonna say True Q is one that I enjoyed a lot, and then
I consider Realm of Fear and True Q more middling. Not middling might be too
just
mean.
not top of the
not stellar, but still very good.
Yeah, I agree with you. I might put Realm of Fear higher, but I agree with you on True Q. And then we've talked about this the last couple of weeks. Face of the Enemy is one that I just think is so insane that I enjoy.
I forgot what Realm of Fear was. That is a great episode. Never mind. I put that right up there. Definitely ranks up.
I think Birthright Part 1 is another one of those where it's like, that's a great setup. And then Part 2 is like, not a great
It is not a great setup.
And it definitely it definitely colors, if you will, Part 1.
So the True Q episode 2 is another one that deserves bonus points because it made Steven like it. And those are it's always funny to me when we get to subvert, for lack of a better term, those kinds of things that Steven does not like going into an episode.
Well, and to be fair, the main reason I really like that episode is Olivia Dabo. So
true.
I shouldn't say the main reason, but she's definitely a big reason.
Right.
But
to me, I like that episode a lot, but that is where the dividing line is. That I think Realm of Fear belongs up with the great.
Yeah,
I think True Q is more in the very good.
It's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. This episode, like I said, we go back. For instance, last episode, I'd go at least down to Darmok is pretty darn good.
Darmok is this
we
season?
didn't like Darmok. That was deceptive because we always remember Darmok as being good. But, okay, right above Darmok's Disaster, though, I would say that was still a very, very good episode. So that's 12 really good episodes last season, and we're only getting to 6 this season. That's a big difference. And similarly, I think season 4 had like 12 really strong episodes. Season 3, I would even argue, has quite a few.
Oh, we just scroll left.
To go all the way back to season 1. I think looking at the top episodes list, I'd have to go all the way back to season 1 to get as low a number of great episodes as the season had. Maybe season 2. I would argue maybe season 2. 3, 4, and 5 had more great episodes. If we're looking at terrible episodes, I think season 5, I said there were only like 2 or 3 really terrible episodes. Not even season 1 has as many terrible episodes as this season, in my opinion. I think this season has had more terrible episodes than any season of Next Gen so far. What I consider terrible. That's my reference point as we get to ranking the season amongst the other seasons, as I think it's, if you're looking at great, I think it's comparable with the first couple seasons of the series. If you're looking at terrible, I think it's higher than any other season. So that makes me want to put this at the bottom. I could see the argument for putting it above seasons 1 and 2. I think it definitely belongs below seasons 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, I think I may have negative recency bias in that. I think I agree with you. In my mind, I'm looking back like, well, 1 and 2. I mean, and I will say, I don't think this season was as bad as we thought it was going to be.
I didn't think it was going to be bad at all. I expected to keep riding the high of season 5.
Yeah, and it did not. We had a lot of nice highs. Yeah, I think the bottom was bigger and the top was smaller, and even the middle was smaller. So yeah, it makes sense.
We had a bunch of bad episodes early in the season too. I think that helped get us into a bad frame of mind.
Yeah.
But we also had Relics and Realm of Fear early on, which were great.
Yeah.
So I'm proposing we put it above seasons 1 and 2, but below 3, 4, and 5. Are you in agreement, Stephen, or you think it?
I think I'm looking back fondly on seasons 1 and 2, but
I was going to say that I think part of the issue is that in the early seasons, they had a lot more ground to work with, a lot more fertile ground for concepts and exploration and introductions. But at the same time, when you get to season 5 and 6, I like the way the characters feel better. So you have more potential for certain kinds of highs when they really get to take advantage of what they built, which I guess they probably haven't been doing as well as they should have been in this season.
I think Second Chance is one of those episodes that pays off from that, of all the history we feel with them. And, I think we talked about this in DS9 even, that, I thought that with TOS seasons 1 and 2, not only did they have a lot of fertile ground to cover with the characters, but just that realm of sci-fi on TV every week. And also they had, great writers, Harlan Ellison and Robert Bloch, and I know I'm leaving out some other folks, Gene L. Kuhn and some of those guys.
E.C. Fontana, so forth.
Yeah, I was left that for you.
Yes.
Screw you, Keith.
And then there's also my nostalgia bias there too.
Stephen, the more I look at these episode lists, I think season 2 I was already knocking down because Shades of Grey is still my least favorite of the series so far. Worst episode of the series so far. That was in season 2. But as I look at the season 2 list, I think it's better than the season. So now I'm only arguing for it to be above season 1.
Yeah.
And my argument for that would be, I don't have good memories of Encounter at Farpoint. That came in number 10 for season 1.
Yeah.
And everything below Encounter at Farpoint, not excited about. I think it had just as many bad episodes in season 1.
As I'm looking at it, 1, I'm surprised how many of them I remember. 2, I'm agreeing with you.
And the thing is, the highs of this season, Chain of Command and Relics and
I think
Realm
they're
of
better
Fear and stuff, we don't have anything in season 1 that's that high. I mean, I like Haven and Heart of Glory, but we're not that high.
Yeah, that's what I think.
So above season 1, but below everything else?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Keith's going to agree? You don't want to break down some specific episode?
I will just say about Steven's comment there about being surprised at how many you remember. There's something about that too. I think part of it is because I probably saw the episodes in season 1 more times than I would have seen the ones in season 5. But something about the names, some of them jump right out and go, "Oh yeah, I know that episode." Season 5 or season 6, I cannot. Like every time you explain an episode to me from the title, I go back and I forget almost immediately what it was exactly or what I liked about it, and just.
It is funny how even in season 1, 2, and 3, I think when we were ranking them at the time, we were still Googling to look them up. But I think because we were Googling to look them up, we reminded ourselves. And now you're right. I know what each of those episodes were in the first few seasons.
Right.
Don't for this
really
season.
Weird. And I want to blame it on generic titles, but I certainly remember Justice, which ranked 14th.
We keep referring back to it, though. That's kind of the point. Is there's a certain kind of importance to what they were doing in those episodes, or certain iconic things that set it apart. Was like, oh yeah, it's funny some good jokes to come back to from that sort of thing.
I'll say this for this, and this might just be my wheelhouse, but like I'm looking at all 6 seasons so far. The ones we ranked 14th, Justice. Definitely rewatchable for me. Love it. Reference all the time. Captain's Holiday in season 3. Lots of fun. We meet Vash. The Masterpiece Society. Not a perfect episode, but definitely interesting. And then talk about your crazy, your badass crazy episodes, Face of the Enemy. So
Steven's favorite ranking is number 14.
Yeah, I think it is. I'm like, wow.
Oh, the ranking or the episode number though, because that's
the ranking.
That's the ranking. We ranked
now I see
all those 14th for the season. So
that is weird.
Like I love. Well, I shouldn't say I love Masterpiece Society. And Justice is just it's not a great episode. It's just a bunch of beautiful blonde naked people.
So it's kind of weird. So yeah, certain episodes like that sort of sink toward the middle, like just about we're at that sweet spot where it was.
Right.
You can't call it good technically, but it was just something you really liked.
Because like Captain's Holiday, I don't think we thought was great because we ranked at 14th, but we loved Vosh and some of that. And same with me for Face of the Enemy. It was like, I can't tell you it's a great episode, but I can tell you I'll watch it again over and over.
And it's Captain's Holiday. That's another one where I didn't need to be reminded much. Yeah. You say Vosh. I can start to play back at least a good portion of the episode in my head. The other ones, I don't know. I suppose it's a matter of perspective.
And
I saw it a couple lines up as I was thinking that. I was like, what?
That's a great callback.
I'd say looking just at line 14, which I think was a fun experiment. Thank you, Stephen. Or ranking 14, line 15 in the spreadsheet. I think they're all pretty similar quality, except Captain's Holiday, I feel, is the best of them, which makes me think maybe season 3 shouldn't be so low on our rankings, so we need to boot it up.
That's
but then I look at the top of season 3 and I realize why it's not at the top of our rankings. So, but yeah, I think grabbing a random line like that, line 15 or 14th ranked episode, those are all pretty similar quality across the board.
Yeah.
Interesting that is that way. When I look at season 1, I don't feel they're similar quality across. Or number 1 in the ranking, I don't feel they're similar quality at all.
Huh.
Yeah, those are all pretty amazing.
I mean, you could theoretically rank the seasons by their number ones in that sense and probably come up with something.
If we were ranking by their number ones, first of all, Chain of Command Part 2 is season 6's entry, so that would put season 6 a lot higher in my rankings. The only thing that competes with Chain of Command Part 2 for me, I'd say might be, well, seasons 2, 3, and 4, Measure of a Man, Best of Both Worlds, and Family were all really strong. But season 1's number 1 is Haven, which was fine. And season 5's number 1 was Unification 1, which was good, but I don't think it's that level. Which is funny because season 5 had a lot of great episodes. We said it's the best season overall, and we still had Unification 1 at the top, which confuses me because I looked out the next 12 episodes and I'm like, I remember all these very fondly. Unification 1, not as much.
What's strange for me right now is of all the number ones, I would say The Measure of a Man is the only one I can remember from the title. Like looking at right now, I could tell you that was a trial episode with Data, right? It was.
Yeah, but you know Best of Both Worlds.
I don't remember it. What was?
Picard becomes Locutus and murders everybody.
Of all the number ones I've known in the galaxy, Unification 1 was the most human.
And season 4 Season 4's family was Picard recovering from being Locutus, going back to the vineyard. That was powerful.
I guess.
It was the first time this show really did continuity and let the characters actually feel bad for something that happened in a previous episode.
Yeah.
I suppose that's important.
It is.
No, it's just I'm seriously. I'm not feeling the same kind of thing as I do when I look down through some of the lower ranked episodes where I go, I remember exactly what that episode was, how I felt, and what was going on, and I could give you a synopsis off the top of my head. But the other ones I had to I couldn't dig for details in the same way.
Okay. Well, I think I'm comfortable with our ranking of season 6 as second to last of the 6. 5, 4, 3, 2. 6-1 as we go from top to bottom. Let's talk about some of the things we noticed in season 6's themes. I think Troy, I mentioned this last week, but I think Troy really came into her own in season 6. I think giving her the uniform halfway through the season helped tremendously. It made us take her more seriously. And when she was involved in stories, I think the writers took her more seriously.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. I mean, I feel like I would have taken her seriously anyway, but it's just, I mean, some of it could have been reflected in her own comfort level on the show. It might have been, it's like a sign that maybe they were doing something to, like they were listening to her concerns, which would probably indicate better writing there forward, or maybe more enthusiastic performances from her or something to that effect.
I think this episode or this season was pretty strong on Picard stories, as was last season. I feel like the last couple seasons, they've really boosted Picard. I mean, Locutus and stuff, those were all good Picard stories, but the last couple seasons, they really found good uses for Picard. Riker really got a good end of this season. I was feeling early in the season that they just completely lost Riker, and I was missing getting much Riker.
Was it because he was directing?
I don't think so. Everybody takes their turn getting written for. And I just felt like we weren't getting good Riker stories till we got near the end of the season, and then we got good Riker stuff.
Yeah.
Especially second chances. I really we have second chances number 11 for the season. I think I'd want to put it higher if we were revisiting. I have good memories of it. Geordi was better this season. I think this was the season he started season 5, he started to get better. I think season 6, Geordi's actually a character I like instead of the character he was.
I think it was
Is
probably
the last Leia
underused.
Brom season 5? Yeah,
I
think
agree
so,
with you,
too.
Keith, that he's underused, but I also feel like this is the first time I feel that way. And it's not because he was used less this season so much as I actually wanted to see more of him this season versus earlier seasons, where as much as I love LeVar Burton, I did not want to see more of that character.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it could be the memory thing, of course, but it just feels like he was actually used less than in season 5.
I think so too.
You think he was used less?
It seems like.
No. They finally figured out how to use him, and then they stopped using him. That sucks. Yeah, I think Jordy was used better. Riker was. I don't want to say Riker was used better, but like end of the season, they started to use him again.
Well, I mean, part of my point is that you have Aquiel, that like the Jordy episode is like your least favorite of.
Yeah, that was the season.
And that didn't. I guess I wasn't as bothered by that.
That was halfway through the season.
Yep, and then it was sort of like nothing after that.
Yeah.
So.
I think, and this just could be, I can't, memories are notoriously unreliable, but I feel like I was liking Jordy better. Then we got Aquiel, which was a huge step backwards. And then after that, that was like the last gasp of the bad Jordy. I don't know. I do feel like we did not get as much Data and Worf this season in that for a little bit there in the middle of the series, they were giving us, I don't want to say too much because I enjoyed the Data and Worf stories, but it really felt like they were taking like Picard lead type status. And this season felt more of a balance of the troop as a whole, other than I think you're right, Geordi. And Crusher never gets enough, but I don't think she got worse this season. I'd say about the same for her as she's been getting.
I think there was like 1 or 2 Crusher episodes this season that wasn't improved.
Which is typical,
thought, right?
Yeah, which is typical. But
right, but I mean, the episodes she got, I thought were better, weren't they? Or
no.
Suspicions is near the bottom.
Suspicions was terrible. That was the big Crusher episode we got late in the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have that third from the bottom. I think the Worf, Data, Riker, Picard, Troy, the 5 of them kind of leveled off as relatively comparable characters this season, whereas in earlier seasons, some of them took more center stage. In the very early seasons, Riker was more center stage, and I kind of missed that to some extent because I want every time I get Riker, I want more of Riker. But he had some good showcases, second chances, and the one where he was going crazy.
Yeah, I
liked that one. Yeah,
frame of mind. Yeah, they're right there in the middle.
Yeah. But those were good showcases for him.
So, as I'm thinking of some of the developments that I've been waiting to have happen, or forgetting that I was waiting to have them happen. I'm surprised they haven't happened yet. I mean, that's all packed into the last season. I would have thought that it was. That's so weird. Thinking back,
it is disappointing. I'm pretty sure we've already seen our last Guinan episode. That bums me out that we don't have Guinan in season 7. We do get one more O'Brien episode. We get one more Roe episode. We get one more Tasha Yar episode, but Guinan's gone. She'll be back for one of the films, but still, I don't remember if we get a Barclay episode in season 7, but I know he shows up in at least one film, and I know we have at least one more Wesley Crusher episode for season 7. So let's look at who we were annoyed by this season. I mean, the repeats for me, for Keith and I, Jellicoe, for 2 episodes in a row, we did not like him. Steven didn't jump on the Jellicoe train. He had Netchia for one of those, and Madrid for the other, which I think is just sacrimonious. But we all started the season hating Sam Clements. Shortly after that, we all
I think he's a likable guy, actually.
We were annoyed by Alcar. I'm looking. I've got Worf a couple times. I've got Picard a couple of times. I've got Picard 3 times. Yeah. Keith actually found Scotty annoying and Barclay annoying, which I just don't understand at all. But Keith had Worf a couple of times. Steven, I see Data a couple of times on your list, and Riker a couple of times.
Yeah.
So we found different main characters annoying.
Yeah, I turned against Riker a few times.
You did. The ones we all agreed on, Times Arrow Part 2 with Sam Clements across the board. Man of the People, we agreed Alcar across the board. We agreed on Nevik and Face of the Enemy across the board. I think that's it. I think only 3 times were we all in alignment for annoyance. But I do see Keith and I lined up quite a few times this season.
Felt
I'd
like
say more than I lined up with Steven, and probably the most. I'm not going to look back at all the seasons, but I think Keith and I were more in alignment on our annoyances this season than the other seasons, I think.
It felt that way.
Mhm.
Yeah. If we look at the have a drink list, we're less in alignment. Actually, the three of us are. I'm trying to look through. It actually looks like I see a number of times where Steven and Keith lined up with the have a drink. I think you two are more in alignment with the have a drink with overall for the season. Where we all agreed, Realm of Fear, we all liked O'Brien. That was the second one. Relics, despite Keith being annoyed with Scotty, we all chose Scotty. We all chose Amanda and True Q.
Okay, of course. Yeah.
We all chose the Countess and Ship in a Bottle.
Oh, I chose Spot twice this season.
Well, of course you did. I'm surprised it's only twice. We all chose Torith and Face of the Enemy. We all chose Hutchinson and Starship Mine. So we were and we all chose Riker and Frame of Mind. Well, Steven chose Riker, the actor. The other two, and we all chose the Collis clone and Grateful Air. We were a lot more aligned as a group on to have a drink with.
Mm-hmm.
This is just impressions, and we don't keep track of this, but I feel like for ranking the episodes, we had more disagreements this season than we've had.
Yeah, I feel like there was a greater disparity. I feel like a lot of the conversations as we got to the end of the season were like, well, I ranked this 5 below that one, so I don't even know why I'm talking about this up there.
I think there were a good number of episodes where either Steven or I picked a spot early on, and then we sat out while Keith ranked with the other one of us. High and lows,
Well, and I kept looking at Suspicions, which I thought Keith and I both came in a little higher, or maybe I did, or maybe we both did. And I think you talked us into I don't think we came in loving it, but I think you were very persuasive and oh yeah, that was dumb.
You think I talked you two down for that one? Because we ended up from the bottom.
Yeah, I thought you made a lot of good points. I didn't think it was a great episode, but I thought it was a fun episode.
Yeah.
And then coming out of our conversation, I'm like, no, you're right. And then it was you and also some online stuff as well, but it changed my mind. But
if you're talking about mind changing, I feel like especially the second half of the season, I was more persuaded by the two of you more often than I had been in the past. Good and bad points. And just like we talked about last week, Netchiev, I had her as my annoyance as we discussed her. I'm like, no, I'm going to change her to have a drink with.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I think the conversations are enlightening and a lot better than knee-jerk reactions because it gives us time to digest the episode, even if you've just watched it right before. I always watch it 2 days before, but I know Keith always watches it just before. Yeah. I think still just talking about it gives us time to digest.
Mm-hmm.
I think what Steve was bringing up there I think that was remarkable because usually when I form a relatively positive impression of an episode, I usually stay about there. And I think that was one of the first times you actually managed to make me think, well, maybe it wasn't that good because of these points. I thought that was remarkable.
It was so bad. And this was the first season we started to intermix with DS9. How did that feel? Jumping back and forth. Did you like it? Did it make it harder to track what the season was?
I think Keith kind of referenced it. I don't know if it was in this wrap up or the last episode. It seems like that we just did that. It seems like we haven't did that episode. A lot of these episodes seem like they were a season ago.
Yes.
TNG because we were intermixing with DS9, but
I don't feel that way. But these intermixed years that we're gonna do another 7 of them because DS9 and Voyager intermixed too.
All right.
They take us a full year to record a year's worth of episodes, whereas we were running through them in 7 or 8 months before.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy the diversity. Yeah, I enjoy jumping back and forth. So, would you
rather we finished season next gen before we moved to DS9? Do you regret that decision now?
No, the completist in me likes going chronological order. So
same, definitely.
Yep.
I think it's telling for the cultural context of where we are to go back and forth.
Yeah, I think lots of times when we talk about, this or that, and we look at the date that the show was aired, it's like, okay, yeah, that all makes sense. Yeah, I think that.
Honestly, other Star Trek podcasts, I feel like we're unique among them by doing air date. Almost everybody that does this kind of thing finishes next gen before moving on to DS9.
Okay.
And I like this better. I think it really hit home for DS9 season 1 because the number of next gen characters they brought over.
Yeah.
which they did a lot.
Right.
You, Vash, Loxana, the Duras sisters, those would have all felt less recent had we waited till we finished Next Gen to jump into them.
Yeah.
So it feels very much like you're making these two shows in conjunction.
Yeah.
Which I don't feel like, I mean, with DS9 and Voyager, which you'll get to, because they're so divergent on where they're taking place and what their stories are, they don't have those through lines. I think the argument is much easier to make that we should be jumping back and forth right now than over the next 7 years, where we're going to be jumping back and forth, and DS9 and Voyager have nothing to do with one another. They're set in the same years. They're set at the same time, but because Voyager's on the other side of the galaxy and has no communication back at home, they're completely separate worlds. And that might give us some cool context too, is like the Alpha Quadrant falls apart around us on DS9 and Voyager's completely ignorant of what's happening back at home. That might be some interesting context.
Yeah.
But I liked the deepening of Picard and Guinan's relationship. I really wish we'd explored it further.
Yeah, I guess I wish we'd had even more arcs to go through, or bigger jumps, or bigger advances in people and folks. But you know,
Next Gen's never really going to get there.
No,
I'm sorry.
Well, there's still some time. They might, you know.
We only have one more season left.
I know.
I've seen almost none of the last season. Just like I had actually seen a little more of season 6 than I thought I had, but there was a lot of it I hadn't seen. Season 7, I haven't seen a lot of it all. And so I'm really looking forward to jumping into it.
Yeah.
Like I said, the series finale, All Good Things, I've read the novelization probably 8 or 9 times at least. I've never seen the episode. So I'm so looking forward to actually sitting down and watching it. I'm not at all excited for this whole lore resolution, the descent part.
No, I mean,
this is the least I've been anticipating. Like, okay, we can take as long as we need for the break. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm also curious if we get that feeling, and obviously we know it's the last season, but if it'll feel like they know it's the last season, kind of a thing.
I think it will. I think, like, it's unfortunate they didn't use Guinan, but I feel like they go back and revisit all these other characters and plots that have been left hanging. And the series finale is, like I said, while I haven't seen it, I've read the novelization so many times. I know it's a really satisfying bookend to the show. Not that it summarizes, but it heavily references Encounter at Farpoint and everything they've gone through. And so to see that like balance is really nice. I think they did a really good job wrapping up the series. But I do know the actors and writers and everybody involved in creating the Next Gen had no break, because they went straight from filming All Good Things to filming the first movie.
Yeah.
They didn't even have the summer off. They went straight into it.
Yeah.
And so that will wait a year or two because of when the movie was released. Yeah. Actually, I think the series ended in June and that movie came out at Christmas. Like, it came out real quick.
Yeah.
So we won't have to wait that long for it. In a way, that first movie feels more like an extension of the show than later movies feel because of that. Because they really didn't even pause for a breath. Ron D. Moore and Braden Braga, who are writing the series finale, also wrote the first 2 films. And they said, they've talked about, we barely got the ink dry on the series finale and they made us start writing. We were still filming season 7 and we were writing the film. So,
and season 3 of TOS, obviously terrible, but they didn't know that was going to be the end. They kept thinking it wasn't going to be the end. So, we'll see.
I'm on Memory Alpha, and it says this is the final season, Next Gen, which Cole Meany appears as his character. That is inaccurate, because O'Brien is in the series finale. I remember that. Unless they cut him all from the episodes just in the book, but I don't think so. Oh, sorry. It also says this is season 6 is the only episode where Will Wheaton does not appear as Wesley Crusher. Did you miss having Wesley this year? This is also the only season Denise Crosby is not in.
Oh, wow. Huh.
It's also the only season with no Loxana Troy, which you may not have felt because we just had her on DS9.
Right. It's probably why it's so low that we didn't have those.
Probably. I don't know. We did have more crossovers. We had Scotty, we had Dr. Bashir. Yeah. Picard was over on DS9. Star Trek's expanding and moving on. And I don't want to say the attention went to DS9 because clearly it did not. But I think we will feel I think we'll definitely feel the attention shift from Next Gen to Voyager and skip over DS9.
Yeah.
Because that's what it was, both in audience and in the producers. Yeah. DS9 was always the afterthought. It was never as much focused.
See that?
Well, that's a lot.
I think we'll see that. But that also gave it so much freedom and fluidity that the other shows didn't get because they didn't have as much hands-on.
Yeah.
Ira Stephen Burr and Michael Piller got really crazy on DS9 because they could, because nobody was reining them in.
Interesting.
So Next Gen does feel, especially at this point, tightly controlled. Next week, we're going to DS9 for their season finale, In the Hands of the Prophets, and then we'll follow that up the following week with our DS9 season wrap-up. We will not have a combined season wrap-up, but we'll probably talk about, in the DS9 season wrap-up, some stuff about Next Gen. But In the Hands of the Prophets, Vedic Wynn, a candidate in the race for the open Kai position, stirs up trouble on DS9 when she attempts to boycott Keiko's school for not teaching Bajoran religious beliefs. So I know automatically, Steven, you're loving Wynn.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
She is played by the phenomenal Louise Fletcher.
Oh, all right. Now I'm excited.
And she's going to be in a ton of episodes, not just this one. This is her first appearance, but the first of many.
All right.
We're also going to be introduced to Vedic Barile. So we get two Vedics. Vedic Barile and Vedic Wynn, the two top Vedics vying for Kai Opaka's position. But it's called In the Hands of the Prophets, which ought to tell you there's some heavy religion things. And Keiko O'Brien's back, the rarely seen wife of O'Brien.
From her last trip to Earth.
Her other field trip to... Somebody pointed out that the reason they mentioned... Because I was like, it's really strange they mentioned she had the field trip on Bajor. The reason they mentioned that was to explain Jake Sisko's absence in the action. That makes a lot of sense, because Jake should have been involved if Sisko was being mutinied and leaving the station and everything.
Oh, yeah.
So that was why they mentioned Keiko, was to explain why Jake wasn't part of it. Anyway, until then, live long.
Why you still can, and prosper.
It's All Been Done presents
Who's Got the Time?